Hey guys, welcome back to another video. And today we're going to react to another ZJ Plagiarisms video. Yay! I'm so excited. Okay, no guys, please do enjoy this video, okay? I have to suffer through this. Okay, I'm the best part about this video. Okay, what is this one? This dumbass Star Wars book exists. Okay, this is actually a Star Wars book that I grew up with. I love this one. Okay, I completely disagree with his opinions. This is the thing we're going to be doing. He doesn't respect other people's opinions. I do. Okay, I find it hard to respect his opinions, but okay, I guess so. Okay, let's go.
Why the hell does this exist? So a year before the EU was declared non-canon, instead of trying to wrap it up before it was decanonized and leaving everything except the Old Republic on a cliffhanger, they decided to publish a satirical, non-canon kids book instead of something important. Published in 2013 by Scholastic and written by Jeffrey Brown, who you might recall wrote a short story in the book From a Certain Point of View, wrote a book called Star Wars Jedi Academy. Not to be confused with a video game with a similar name, is a non-canon kids book about a kid named Ron Novachez who aspires to be a pilot but gets rejected.
Why does it have to name a Jedi Academy? Like, that's the same name as a game. So yeah, so whenever you search up Jedi Academy on YouTube, it just comes up with the game because the game's more popular. That's really annoying, but whatever.
From Flight Academy and gets accepted at random by the Jedi Academy on Coruscant. I was around 11 when this book came out, and since I wasn't wise enough to realize this was a non-canon kids book, this book really confused me since it was a story that contradicted the films. Of course, it was just a satirical kids story, but I didn't know that at the time, so while the book was a fun read, it made no sense because I didn't realize it wasn't canon. For some reason, whoever was responsible didn't slap the affinities label on this story. One thing I realized while reading it is that it had an uncanny resemblance to Diary of a Wimpy Kid in terms of structure. It's literally Diary of a Wimpy Kid in Star Wars. I mean, a Diary of a Wimpy Kid story could have worked in Star Wars if it was the journal of Anakin Skywalker at the temple during the span between the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, because from what we know from Legends, his time at the Jedi Temple was depressing to say the least. But we're not talking about Anakin. We're talking about this Roan guy. So without further ado, let's begin the story. The book is structured exactly like Diary of a Wimpy Kid with our protagonist, structuring everything like a...
Okay, I'm sick of this. It's not like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, man. Okay, look, there's loads of books about diaries out there. Okay, actually, I have a Diary of a Wimpy Kid book right here, Cabin Fever. I'm going to review this. Actually, I think I reviewed it yesterday. But, like, there is loads of books about diaries, and Jedi Academy mixes it up. It has, like, comic strips, some drawings. Like, okay, I know it's a diary, but there's loads of books about diaries out there. There's books about diaries that came out before Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I know that. I think I read one that came up before Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is not the full first book to be about a diary. It's not a copy, man. I mean, putting Star Wars, splashing Star Wars into it is, you know, I think it's good. I like this series, okay? It's just, this isn't a reason.
Journal. Told you it was a clone of that series.
No!
Anyways, Roan starts off with a title crawl talking about himself and his desires to become a pilot. Ronan in his story lives on Tatooine with his mother and his little brother. He has an older brother and a dad already trained pilots. One thing I don't get was the choice to make Tatooine his home planet. It's an outer rim planet controlled by the Hutts with no ties to the Republic. I'll get to this later. Basically, he's a normal kid waiting to be accepted into Pilot Academy that exists on Tatooine somehow. But after a while of waiting, he gets rejected, and there's a failed cliched joke about being accepted into the Agricultural Academy, where you are trained to plant stuff. Roan spends the next 2 pages complaining about how his life is over, despite his mother trying to cheer him up. We get a comic strip of Roan trying to plant something, and then the page after that, Roan gets the most unexpected letter ever. The Jedi Academy on Coruscant, ran by a guy called Principal Ma, says that his rejection to Flight Academy was overheard by Master Yoda, who decided to invite him to the Jedi Academy on Coruscant. This book never explains how a kid in Hutt space came to the attention of the Jedi Order, Or how Yoda knew.
I always liked how Rowan was the new kid, you know? Like, he'd never been a Jedi before. He went into this new place, but he was able to get through Jedi Academy and become an actual Jedi. And I always thought that Rowan would become a good Jedi in the future. I could see that, okay? I just... Okay, yeah, it's a bit unrealistic, but... Okay, just you might have to put in a little bit of suspension of disbelief here. It is Star Wars, okay? We have laser swords and... lightning shooting out of your hands. I think we already have a bit of suspension of disbelief for Star Wars.
Rowan was Force sensitive. It reminds me of the bullshit of how Rian Johnson thought that anyone could be a Jedi, regardless of bloodline. And anything that reminds me of that piece of shit gets negative points. The book...
What do you mean piece of shit? Yeah, anyone could be a... I know this has nothing to do with Jedi Academy, but, like... Am I hearing this right? I didn't pick up on this, but when I watched this video previously, is he angry about the thing that you can't? Is he angry that it says in Last Jedi that it doesn't matter about bloodline, you can just be Force sensitive anyway, and anyone could be a Jedi? Okay, I get it. Never. Okay, I get not everyone could be a Jedi, but it doesn't always revolve around bloodline. Okay, if it just was revolved around bloodline, then that'd be so boring. I mean, all the Jedi would go extinct ever, because eventually all the bloodlines are just going to run out and stuff. And like the Skywalker bloodline, that died, right? So eventually the Jedi are going to be gone. Anyway, okay, so someone from a new family should be Force sensitive. I think that is, a solid concept. But whatever. I guess I am kind of sick of all these Jedis coming around in original trilogy time and kind of ruining the whole Order 66 thing.
Also never explains why Rowan was accepted into Jedi Academy in his middle school years, which the book actually addresses, mind you, where it says that they only accept toddlers into the academy. Whatever, so we get an overview of all the teachers, one of which isn't a Jedi. A Wookiee named Kit Mum who teaches physical education. There's also an FAQ on the previous page with the most basic answers. Yeah. What is a Jedi? A Jedi is a diplomat warrior who fights for peace and justice in the galaxy.
Some of the pages like this are just, they're kind of just filler. Like, they don't really do anything for me. Some of them are cool, but some of them just,
What tools do the Jedi use? The Jedi uses a lightsaber, a kind of sword made with a blade made of pure energy, and the Force. Shit like that. So anyways, we get a brochure about the Jedi Academy, which I don't understand because the book establishes that most attendees start off as toddlers who can't read, and that Rowan was an exception. I'm thinking too deep about it, but that's what happens when you grow up. You think about things more. The page after that is your cliche good luck message from Rowan's dad. Anyways, after a goodbye with his mother, Rowan is off to Coruscant. When Rowan gets there...
Man, I thought that was cool. Okay, I don't care if it's cliche. I like when books and movies do a nice heartwarming scene where one character trying to cheer up the other and gives them a heartwarming speech. I always like that in books. I just like to hear some speeches like that. Okay, I wish people in real life would do that more often and stuff. Okay, whatever. I understand it's cliche and all that, but whatever. I like it. Okay.
He meets a guy named Pastor and a guy named Bill. The book quickly establishes who Rowan's allies are, but they also establish his enemies. When the mean kids bump into him and grow jealous of him because he was accepted into the academy late, since they've been trained from birth. The story should have naturally developed the rivalry. You could have done what Harry Potter did, but I guess I'm just nitpicking. Next page, two girls. Tegan and Gianna introduce themselves. I'm already jealous because I never would have gotten this much attention at that age. Anyways, after a final introduction to Egon, they go to their dorms.
Okay, I guess it is just a little bit jarring how, some characters, these half the characters are good, those half are bad. School isn't really like that. And I think this book probably should have done... this is a valid complaint, though. Okay, JJ plagiarisms. It's the first fully valid complaint, other than the whole Tatooine thing, I guess. That was a bit stupid. I wish some characters would, do more bad things, or maybe the book could have taught kids that the world isn't just black and white, okay? There's not just good characters, just not just bad characters. Okay, and I guess, but though there's this Star Wars, and usually Star Wars is kind of the same. You're either a Jedi or a Sith, but there's like people in between still. So whatever.
Ron is shocked when his new friends use the Force to lift their bags and shit. After that, Ron meets Yoda, who confuses him with his backwards talking. He writes his disappointment at meeting Master Yoda. He expected a gruff and tough man with dual...
It's just kind of funny to see Ron just so confused about what Yoda's saying. It's weird. I always like to see the pieces of paper, like thoughts about Master Yoda, or like what Master Yoda said this week and stuff like that. I always like seeing those in the books.
Swords and a battle scar. And just like some of the audience would have been in 1980, Ron is disappointed on how Yoda turns out to be. Ron says, and I quote, "I can't understand what he says half the time. He is 700 years old. Maybe he was easier to understand 200 years ago? Wait. Yoda was 880 during the prequel era. When is this book set? 196 years before the Battle of Yavin? You mean it's basically a High Republic novel before the High Republic was established to even be a thing? Wow, legends be...
I think this is actually kind of fixes a plot hole. So in Jedi Academy, how there's like relationships in like the Phantom Bully, how Ron and Jenna kind of get together, but like in the prequels, that's not allowed. So there was 196 years between, or I think 60 years between this book and the Phantom Menace. So there was all that time to the Jedi Council to decide that there's no relationships going on. So maybe something happened, like a few decades after this book that stopped all that relationship stuff happening. But I don't know, that's what I'm guessing.
To it. Wikipedia confirms this story takes place 196 years before the Battle of Yavin. Guess that explains why Yoda is the only character I recognize. Reading this book for the first time, I was wondering where the hell Mace Windu and Ki-Adi-Mundi and all those other Jedi were. This book doesn't have the most direct story. It's basically Ron making it through the school year. There's no overarching story I can name besides Ron trying to get through middle school, or in this case, Jedi Academy. There's a lot of attempts at comedy, but a lot of them fall flat. For example, on his first day of school, he arrives late because his watch was set to Tatooine time. Shit like that. A lot of this early book is Ron complaining about Jedi Academy. Ron also meets Mr. Garfield, the most least sounding appropriate name for a Star Wars character ever. Whose idea was it to give a Jedi that name? Mr. Garfield throughout the course of the book is the Snape wannabe, inspired by the character in fact. He's grumpy all the time, but we don't get to see where that comes from. At least in this book. Maybe it's in the sequels, but who knows. Another teacher is Kit Num, as mentioned before, a female Wookiee who is basically the PE teacher. Ron says he can't understand the teacher, which makes it baffling why a Wookiee was made a teacher on anywhere other than Kashyyyk. I get it's a joke, but come on. Star Wars is known to tell a more intelligent story despite being aimed at kids. I'm just nitpicking here, but this book just made me cringe at the juvenile humor it threw at me. This book has not aged well as it could have for me. Sometimes there's pages that are well illustrated, but they don't play any important role in the story other than stuff we already knew. Ron asks for a place to sit near the bullies, and they tell him to sit on the floor and laugh. Yeah, we get it, Jeffrey Brown. The bullies are dicks. These bullies are so stereotypical and cliche. It's hard to make a bully character original anyways. This book is actually kind of boring at times because there's just a bunch of filler. Like this quiz that Ron almost gets correct. Ron also keeps track of what Yoda says too. Sometimes the book is just cliche joke after another. It was hard for me to seamlessly keep track of the book. It just couldn't keep my attention half the time. I really don't know what to say about the book that I haven't already said. Skipping through a bunch of pages, we have the trip to Kashyyyk, but the thing that doesn't make sense about it is that we go to the very bottom ground, aka the Shadowlands, which is just a terrible idea, especially since Yoda talks about wild animals like the Catan and the spider from Fallen Order. Also, his friend Pasha goes missing, and they find him by navigating the sun or something. I don't remember. Then we have the cliche urban legend forest thing around the campfire. Fuck it, this book has no straightforward plot. It's just random activities. So let's just get through it all. Mr. Garfield's class has his students test their lightsabers, and the Goat Kid's lightsaber malfunctions. Predictable, the Goat Kid was established to be nervous. Roan also establishes a comic he can draw to the gal who handles the newspapers, called Ewok Pilot. Predictable. Then there's this shit about the science fair project, as Roan tries to make a replica of the Mustafarian volcanoes, but it explodes. Seriously, will this book stop shoving cliches in my face? I'm quite sick of it. After complaining about the Force, we are properly introduced to Ronald Reagan, a kid with the same haircut as the president of the same name. This kid basically aspires to be a galactic senator. These characters have blatantly obvious character traits. So there's a subplot of Roan making posters for both Bill and Ronald, who are running against each other. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the same people made the election advertisements for both Biden and Trump to make a quick buck. Then there's the stupid school dance thing. Now this is a reason why a kid watching the prequels will get confused. Jedi do not show attachment. So having a party where there's going to be a lot of drinking, dancing, and fights...
I said how this made sense because there's a big time gap. Man, like, obviously the rules made up after this book, but before Phantom Menace...
It's not a good idea. Besides, they probably put on some really tame music, like the Gungan City music, and not something like Battle of the Heroes. But anyways, Roan gets his report card. Mostly impressive, except for a D assigned by Yoda. And then to pad the book out, since there isn't really an overarching plot, Roan returns to Tatooine, and we're just halfway through the book. Oh boy, not much happens on Roan's summer break. It's just shit designed to waste your fucking time. When he gets back, the only really important thing in the second half is Roan qualifying for a lightsaber fencing competition, where during a fight, Cyrus and Pasha are dueling each other, and Roan turns Cyrus's lightsaber off with the Force, ending with Cyrus winning by disqualification on Pasha's part. And then there's Roan using the Force and him getting good grades. And then they wrap up the book with Roan realizing next year they can...
Okay, I like the ending because he just doesn't try, but like that's what everyone was trying to tell him in the book in the first place, and he just does it without even thinking about it. I like that part of the book, okay? I like when he doesn't try, okay? I like it. I like this book. I like all the random... I love all the random shit everywhere, okay? Frick you.
Do starfighter training. So he gets what he wants regardless, even if he had to wait a year. And that's the book. This story, as mentioned before, has no overarching plot, aside from Roan attending Jedi Academy. I would have liked something more interesting to be going on. This is Star Wars. I would have liked more than a middle school experience. Looking at Legends for inspiration, there was this one story about Count Dooku's friend stealing and opening a Sith holocron from the archives. Something like that is far more interesting than this. Since I live in Australia, we don't have middle school. It's usually primary school, then high school, or secondary school. There is no middle school. So I'm not sure how I can relate to this book. I think your late primary and early secondary years are meant to represent middle school maybe, but since I don't know, I couldn't relate to this book. A lot of stuff is exaggerated.
That is stupid. That's not a reason why you can't relate to this book. Oh my god. Isn't it obvious that it's like, or like, isn't it like the first 3 years of secondary school, right? Yeah, it is. It is. Right? Oh, come on. That's no reason. I mean, sure, okay, just, it's obviously around the age of like 13, 14, or like 12, 13, 14 that you're in there. Okay, just imagine that, okay, going in to just secondary school or something. It's obviously going into middle school is like going into secondary school, going to a new school with loads of older people in it. Okay, I think it's obvious. Okay, like, it's stupid. That's not a reason why you can't relate to this book. Okay, what's the rest of the video?
personally would have liked a less satirical story, and a story more akin to the prequels. Maybe a substitute for Anakin's years at the Jedi Temple. Like, let's set this story around the High Republic era as it is, and have Roan Novichez like Anakin. Be accepted into the Jedi Academy for whatever reason at his age. Maybe he was supposed to join at birth, but his parents hid him to protect him, and now his parents have been arrested by the Republic and sent to prison, which is a law-friendly story, because the Jedi usually had legal rights over Force-sensitive children, being baby snatchers and all. There, Roan grows up with worldviews and will be uncomfortable with being in the Jedi Order. This kind of story would be far more interesting than a satirized Jedi middle school. Star Wars can be far more outlandish than that. There are many stories from Star Wars Legends that are just balls to the walls insane. Maybe you can have Roan in his story make friends and grow attachments, basically make him a second Anakin Skywalker. Maybe it all ends with him embracing the dark side to escape his life at the Jedi Order. That is a more interesting idea than what was given in the story. The reason I'm so angry at this story is that it's a fucking waste. Considering that Legends was near the point of being discontinued, and instead of wrapping it up, they instead to do a satirical story, aka this story. But let me say that this story is far more impressive than the High Republic bullshit, especially since it is set around the same time. And it didn't even have to be canon in any way to do that. That being said, it was interesting checking out this book for the first time in years. Maybe I'll do the sequels, which will be new territory for me because I've only read this book in the Jedi Academy series. But my main complaint is that it just doesn't hold up as well as it could have. I'm JJ Plagiarisms, and until next time, what are stories from mystery boxes?
Okay, anyway. God, I just don't agree. I like this book, okay? Wait, no, don't fall, no. I just like this book, okay? And if you disagree with me, you're wrong. Anyway, so, yeah, as I said, if you disagree with me, you're wrong. You're wrong. Yeah. Yeah. Feels good. Anyway, see you guys later. Why did I do the outro? Stupid.